So here we go. First, well, I shouldn't say first because we had a couple different quizzes, didn't we? So just to practice, let's do both circle problems. So one of the quizzes had this circle on it, and the other one had this one. So we're going to do them both. This is our practice. One of these you've already done on your quiz, the other one's new. So if you want to take out a piece of paper and practice along with us, that would be great. You don't have to. But again, before this period's over, you're going to have to do this again for me. Okay? Is this a plus? Thank you. So we are going to complete the square. So remember what that means. How do I start? What do I have to do? Put the X's together and leave a blank. Put the Y's together and leave a blank. And then on the other side, we have a couple of blanks, right? Right, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to fill in those blanks. So what do we have to do to fill in those blanks? We have to take half of this number divided by 2, take half of it, and square it. So half of 2 is 1, squared is 1. So we're adding 1 to both sides. Half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. We're adding 4 to both sides. Everybody good so far? Now, the whole reason for doing that is so that you could write these two things like this. Because these are going to give us our center, right? So this one will be x plus 1 squared, yep. And this one will be y minus 2 squared. Remember, you're squaring it, so some of you put 4 here. That wouldn't work. That would make that a 16, wouldn't it? You need that to be a 2. And then you just add up that and you get 15. So where is our center? Negative 1, 2. It's the opposites. Negative 1, 2. Where's our radius? Square root of 15. Got it? All right, let's do this one. Colleen's your hand up? No. All right. So now I'm going to group again. So x squared minus 6x plus blank. Y squared plus 8y plus blank equals 4 plus blank plus blank. I did that a little faster. Is everybody okay? So now we're going to fill in the blanks. What goes here? 9. Does anybody wonder where the 9 came from? Is everybody getting 9? All right. What goes here?
16.
Everybody okay with the 16? If you're not, now's the time to ask. Okay. This is a square. What square is it? X minus 3. Always use that sign right there. So it's x minus 3. What's this square? Y plus 4. Add it all up. 29. Where's my center? 3, negative 4. Everybody okay with that? And my radius is square root of 29. Gang, your radius is always the square root of this number. That's r squared, so you gotta square root it. We okay with the circles? All right. Then you have parabolas. So we'll do our 2 parabolas. Because those are going to be on the quiz too. You're going to have to do a parabola on the quiz. And for the parabola, we have to find the vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width. Those are the things we're finding. So the other one. Now these are both parabolas. Would everybody agree? How do you know they're not circles? They don't have two squares. They only have one square, right? So they're parabolas. Now, this blank and this blank, you should be able just to fill in. Period. I mean, easy. Look at the equation. Where's my vertex? 2, -3. Just like with the circle, it's the opposite of what's in the parentheses. Over here, what's my vertex? Be careful.
3, -1.
3, -1. Very good. Does everybody see why it's 3, -1? That's tricky, but not meant to be tricky. It just happens to be tricky. X, comma, Y. Right? Okay. Now, what about focal width? This problem. What's your focal width? 8. It is this number, guys. So your focal width here is 4. You can't be missing those. Those are easy points. Now, if one of them happens to be negative, so it wasn't, but let's say that was a -8, you still put +8 because it is a width. That W stands for width. Width can't be negative. All right? Now, the focus and the directrix are a little bit harder. You have to know what's going on. So I always use a little sketch, take it or leave it. You don't have to include it. 2, -3. You also know you can use graph paper if you need it. Which way does this parabola open? Up. It opens up because x squareds open up. X squareds open up. Y squareds open sideways. Now your focus is straight up somewhere. Your directrix is straight down somewhere. And however far up this is the same distance down. That distance we call P. And in every parabola, that number is what? 4P. So 4P is 8, which means P is 2. So you're going to start right here and you're going to go up 2. So if I go up 2 steps, up 2 steps, where am I going to be? 2, -1. This is where the graph paper might help some of you. If I went up 2 steps, I'm going to go down 2 steps. Now that point would be 2, -5. Everybody in agreement?
No.
But the directrix is not a point. It is a line which crosses the y-axis at -5. So y equals -5. Okay? Now it's the same thing over here. We've already got the first part started. We already did our vertex, 3, -1. Tell me about this parabola though. Look at it. It's a y squared.
To the right.
So it's going to open to the right. Which means that my focus will be over here. And my directrix will be back here. Now, in order to figure out what those things are, I need to know what P is. I need to know how many steps I take, right? How do I figure out what P is? 4P is 4. So P is 1. I'm going to go 1 step to the right. So if I start at my vertex and go 1 step to the right, where will I be? 4, -1. Kids, if you're going to the right, X is moving, right? 4, negative 1. Now, back up one step. And that would be the point, 2, negative 1, but the directrix isn't a point. It's the line that crosses the x-axis at 2. So it's the line x equals 2. Joseph James? No, you're not awake.
I was looking at his shoes.
Well, quit looking at his shoes. The quiz will not have anything to do with his shoes. All right. So Mrs. Ford said the quiz is going to have 3 questions on it. 1 is a parabola. 1 is a circle, it's like we just did. What do you think the other one's going to be?
What we did yesterday.
What we did yesterday, which was, anyone remember?
The oval.
The ellipse, the oval. They're called the ellipse. Austin Kendrick. They're called the ellipse, the ovals. So let's practice a couple of those. You do not have a paper with these on it, so you might want to write it down, take notes, practice. We'll do the first one together, and then we'll see how far you can get with the second one on your own. Oh, let's make that smaller. All right, here we go. 5 things for this one. We need to find the center, the vertices, the foci, the major axis, and the minor axis. Okay? So here we go. Tell me what you know about this guy. That's called the center. For this figure, that's called the center, but yes, it's at 2, negative 3. Anybody remember what the vertices are for this? What do we mean by the vertices? We mean when we find these 4 points, they're the ones we connect to actually make the oval. So the center is where it all starts. Yeah, this is still review. We're not in our packet. We're reviewing because we're going to have a quiz, right?
Yeah.
So we're reviewing. So 2, negative 3. So that goes here. All right, now let's find, how do I find those 4 points that I'm going to connect to make my oval? Jonathan?
We have to do something with the square root of the denominator.
You do have to do something with the square root of the denominators. What do we do with the square root of the denominators?
The one on the left is how wide it is.
Exactly. And we're not confused by that because it's under x. And if we're moving x, aren't we moving this way? So that number is a 4, which tells me I'm going to start at this point right here, and I'm going to move how far? 2, 2, 2. The square root, just like the radius, the square root. So you move 2 this way, and 2 this way. So there are 2 of my vertices, 0, negative 3, and 4, negative 3. There's 2 of them. Now, how am I going to get the other 2? Square root of 36 is 6. So I will go up and down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which puts me at 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which puts me at 2, negative 9. So 2, 3. And 2, negative 9. So for this figure, for the ellipse, there need to be 4 points in this blank. Okay, Jonathan?
For your major, would it be 12?
The major would be 12. By major, we mean long, and by minor, we mean short, and it would only be 4. Somebody tell me what happens if these two numbers are close together, what would your picture look like if you had a 12 and an 11, let's say? It'd be very circular. If they match, it would be exactly a circle, right? But the only way they would match is if these two numbers matched. But that would be a circle. Does everybody understand that? All right, now what about the focus points? The foci. It's on the major axis, so we know they're here somewhere. I have no idea where. Doesn't matter where you put them. Don't let that confuse you. Just know they're on that axis. And the reason I like to have you put them on there, actually put them on there, is you can get half credit. Even if you don't have a clue about what's going on. Look at all of these points. What do they all have in common? Their x is 2. So without knowing anything about how to find the foci, you know it's 2 comma something. So you get half credit already. Now, how do I find the distance from the center to the focus? Square root of 36 minus 4, which would be the square root of 32. 42. Now what? I gotta add and subtract it from my center point, right? So my center point is at -3. So I am gonna add 4 root 2. Whoops. Now that is a yucky looking number, and I'm sorry about that, but it's just what it is. So I start at my center point, and I add 4 root 2, and then I start at my center point and subtract 4 root 2. And that is what they look like. Start at your center point and add and subtract that distance right there.
Okay.
Your center is where you're beginning. Okay, we're going to do another one. Let's let that digest for a second, and we'll do one more of those too, so we'll have a couple of those.
Why is that 3 that's in front of the 4 root 2 always negative?
Because the center was negative.
Oh, okay.
You got to start at your center number, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's -3. All right, let's try another one. I'm going to erase this one. Here we go. How about this? All right, what can we fill in to get us started here? We know our center is -1, 0. I put one of the tricky, they're not supposed to be tricky, but sometimes we make them tricky. What does a plain y squared mean? 0. If there's nothing added or subtracted, it's 0. Okay, now, my center is at -1, 0. Right now I need my vertices, which means I'm going to be doing some counting. Probably those people are all beautiful, but you need to be focused on my beautiful lips. All right, so here we go. How do I get my vertices? I'm going to do some counting. So, square root of 16 is 4. 4 left and right. So from this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd be at 3, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd be at -5, 0. So 2 of my vertices are 3 and 5. Now what? Go up and down, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts me at negative 1, 5.
Bless you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 5. Everybody okay with that? I'll connect those. That's my ellipse. Now remember, nobody's grading your picture. That's where I do my work. That's like my workspace. You don't even have to draw it if you don't need to. I like to draw it. How long are my major and minor axes?
10 and 8.
Major is
10.
10, minor is 8. Does everybody get those two numbers? We don't want to miss that. That's easy points. Now here comes the hard part. Our foci. Now they're always on the major axis, which is again this one, right? I don't know where they are. I'm just going to put them on there. Okay. Tell me about every single one of those points. Look, x is negative 1. So I'm going to start off by making x negative 1. That way, even if I screw up the rest of it, I get half credit.
This would be 5 plus 3 and 5 minus 3.
Now, before I do anything, I need to find the distance from the center to the focus. So the distance from the center to the focus is the square root of 25 minus 16. Remember, you always want to do the big one minus the little one, so it's positive. We don't want any i's. Square roots of negatives, not good. We want positive. So 25 minus 16.
9.
Everybody okay with 9? The square root of 9, so that would be 3. No radical this time. That means start right here at the center. Always start at the center. And you're going to count up 3. Well, that's easy. If we go up 3, we're at 3, aren't we? Negative 1, 3. And if we go down 3, since we're starting at 0, we would be at negative 3. Now, does anyone, yes?
What happened to the 5? Like in the previous problem, you did something plus, something minus, 4 root 2.
And I did that too. I did that here. We didn't have 4 root 2, we had 3.
Or 3, yeah.
Yeah, but I started at my center point, which happens to be 0.
Oh.
So 0 plus 3, 0 minus 3. If that had been a 5, it is not. But if it had been a 5, it'd be 5 plus 3, 5 minus 3.
So if your center is not at 0, that's when you put
Yep,
something from
yep. Because you have to start at that center point.
Got it.
Alright, we okay? Alright, yeah, alright.
For the center to focus, how do you know which number goes first?
It's always big minus little.
Oh.
If you did it the other way, you'd get a negative, and when you square rooted, you'd get an I, and you don't want an I, so you gotta keep it positive. It's always big minus little. Let's do it. Alright, here's what I need we're gonna take a quiz.
Right now?
So, yep, right now.
Oh,
So get it live, get out a sheet of paper, notebook paper, you need a full sheet.
that's crazy.
Full sheet of paper.
I need to redeem myself after this one.
Yes, you
Wasn't that
do.
bad.
Everybody's getting out a full sheet of paper.
I'm not even
Yo, Jake, you got paper up at you.
Do you want to see my notebook looks like?
Well, hopefully you have a friend that's got a full sheet, because what kind of people come to math class without paper?
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you.
She'll look that up. Yeah. Chris, can you,
I got you.
leave it up there, just turn it off.